And one of the things I think partners have been really pleased to see is your focus on this from day one of your presidency. Even in your inauguration speech, you were highlighting the importance of this to your country and the importance of us working together. So thank you for your leadership. I will, of course, be lobbying my capital. We already contribute quite a lot, as you know, but I will be taking that message back like everybody else. Two requests, I think, if that is not too cheeky. The first is that the UK is one of the biggest donors of the Hunger Safety Net programme led by the World Bank, but it is matched funding. And if Kenya can unlock and prioritise some of that Hunger Safety Net programme funding within its budget, it will unlock more than Kenya is contributing through partners. We also have other big partners waiting in the wings who would like to contribute to this programme, so I think a small prioritisation within your budget will unlock quite a lot for that. And the second, as Peter mentioned in his brilliant presentation on the longer term food security issues, it would be great to see that holistic cross-government plan that we can help feed into. Peter, we're already working and supporting you on the aspects of that. I know when we hosted an experts dinner the other night, cess came up repeatedly. Can cess be lifted on basic foodstuffs? So if you can just do the very basics, that will help drop some of the prices as the foodstuffs moves around the country. So you continue to have our full support. Thank you very much.
Japanese government decided to commit like a 23 million US dollars, equivalent to the almost 3 billion Kenya shillings, for the address of this urgency issues. Japan and the JICA have been cooperating the forest sector about the 40 years. And right with the State Department of the Forest and the KFS and the KEFRI. And we are now developing the drought resistant variety of the trees, such as improve the melia and improve the acacia. So it would be the one of the possible contribution regarding this issue. JICA has been very long involving the water resource supply. Right now we have some project in the Assar area. So regarding this very severe issue, I myself would like to consider the further contribution through this kind of the area.
We're happy you are a middle income country and we want you to continue to be there and to go up to high income. But from the Brussels perspective, very often they're saying, well, if we compare Somalia, Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa, they all have a drought. And of those, you are a middle-income country. So make the case that this is not something that you can bear on your own. We will do the same, and we will see how much more we can sort of get out of various pots to continue to support, in addition to all of our regular funding, much of which is in any case focused on resilience, on drought, on food security, and on uplifting people out of poverty.
I'm speaking on behalf of the Arab group. As soon as the Arab group have received this invitation, each country have sent to the capital. And because of the shortage of the time, we're still waiting for the response from our capitals. Now I'm speaking on behalf of Kuwait. Since 2022, Kuwait have dug over 2,100 water wells in Kenya. And then in addition to that, Kuwait is sending very soon 2 borehole digging machines to dig as much as possible in places needed.
Over the last few years, Russia has made it a point to try to increase its contribution to Kenya's development. And our focus was on health and food security. And we have already made contributions through the UN system. We made contributions to combat the locust invasion and also food through the World Food Program. And having heard the presentations today, I think it would be appropriate for me to announce that currently the Russian government is working closely with the World Food Program to sort out the details of a large shipment of 30,000 metric tons of fertilizers to Kenya as a humanitarian contribution that is free of charge. And we definitely hope that this effort will contribute to food security, because in order to make the Kenyan agriculture more sustainable.
I have an honor to announce that first ship of Ukrainian grain, of Ukrainian donation of 25,000 metric tons of grain is for loading in the port of Chornomorsk in Ukraine. And we hope that this ship will reach Kenya by the end of March. And despite that, we face a lot of challenges. We are defending Ukraine from Russian aggression. We decided, and my government and my president decided, that we have to help Kenya and Kenyans who are in dire need. I can assure you that Ukraine will continue to do its best to provide Ukrainian grain to Kenya, to Kenyans, to those who are in dire need, and at least we will be able to alleviate sufferings all those people who live in counties most affected by drought.
This country is water scarce as a result of global climate change. The lack of water, Your Excellency, has meant that our indicators in those many countries, whether health matters, whether education, whether food security, has been impacted negatively over the years. And therefore, us as the governors from that region, or those counties of Kenya, we are indeed are concerned that we do have a lot of potential, including us, despite losing a large number of livestock, we still call it Kenya's beef basket. We still have a huge potential in tourism. We still have huge potential in minerals. And for that matter, we do have large tracts of land with huge potential for dryland farming. And therefore, Your Excellency, us as governors from the region, it is our intention indeed, and our decided ideas that we can change this narrative of continuous emergency responses and move to resilient solutions. Of course, we appreciate the extent of support we have continuously gotten from the Kenyan government and also from the donor agencies in terms of short-term interventions. But I think, Your Excellency, we have decided that we can move and change the narrative, and that is by water harvesting. Our story, therefore, Your Excellency, is water, water, and water, and therefore water harvesting, particularly in line with your manifesto, and also in line with the dams that you have suggested in our counties, are coming in very handy at a time like this, so that we can quickly move into dryland farming, as was done in many other parts of the world, where also countries have been suffering from deserts and from lack of rains. That has been proven, and we believe we can do it also in our ASAL counties, if only we get the necessary support for harvesting water.
The situation has worsened with 5.2 million people who have been in need, according to our numbers, of humanitarian assistance, and an estimated 9.839 thousand livestock affected by drought. Currently, from our data, we have 9 arid and semi-arid counties, namely Wajir, Kilifi, Mandera, Marsabit, Samburu, Turkana, Isiolo, Kitui, and Kajiado in alarm, drought phase. And then we have 13 counties in alert drought phase. The impact of the drought has resulted in an accelerated increase in poverty levels, mostly in the arid and semi-arid areas, increase in food prices that has negatively impacted on poor households, access to food. The state of pasture and browse in most ASAL counties has remained very poor and below normal. The pasture and browse would not last long due to the high concentration of livestock in the grazing areas, and the livestock body condition ranges from poor to fair in most ASAL counties. Generally, the livestock body condition in most areas is below normal compared to similar periods during a normal year. So what has been our response? In the financial year 2021 and 2022, the county governments distributed aid relief to 2.7 million people. 1 million Kenyans were reached with water on water tracking services. 876,153 children were covered under nutrition intervention, and a total number of 5,280,654 livestock were vaccinated. The county governments continue to respond in the current financial year, which is this financial year 2022-2023. The county governments have had to allocate 7,878,363,301 to the drought response. The interventions that various county governments are undertaking include purchase of food, livestock feeds, range cubes, molasses, and mineral blocks, water tracking to affected populations. They've also had, some counties have had to purchase fast-moving spare parts and purchase of vaccines and veterinary drugs. The county governments have also undertaken a bursary program in some counties, program to cater for fees for secondary school and tertiary education to discourage dropout rates in ASAL counties, even if education for primary and secondary is not really a function of the county governments. And this is because lack of support from parents who have lost their livelihoods to the drought situation. These counties are Wajir, Mandera, Marsabit, and Isiolo. Please note that the interventions that we're reading right now have forced county governments to reallocate their development budget, mostly to be able to deal with this drought response. Despite those interventions, there's still gaps within the counties in the ASAL especially, and those that are facing drought that are non-traditionally not ASAL counties. And these gaps have been identified, including for food distribution, water tracking, health intervention, and livestock intervention, worth approximately close to 4 billion shillings, 3.929. These gaps need urgent attention to mitigate the impact of the drought and to ensure that the people in the ASAL counties are adequately supported during this critical time.
Pastoral livelihoods are largely devastated due to prolonged severe scarcity of water and pasture. Millions of animals, the mainstay of these communities' economy, have died, rendering families extremely vulnerable and unable to meet their needs without assistance. In response, the government has had to reorganize its budget at the expense of many other programs and projects in order to mobilize resources needed to cushion millions of Kenyans from the effects of this drought. As I told you last year, the trade-offs and hard choices forced on us by this emergency underscores its nature and magnitude and points us in the direction of highly plausible future trends and scenarios unless we engage in realistic changes to what we are doing. Since September 2021, the national government has spent more than 32 billion to cushion lives and livelihoods. This includes 4.9 billion which the government mobilized since September last year and allocated towards immediate life-saving interventions, and a further 1.4 billion dispersed as cash transfers under the Hunger Safety Net program. Our focus has been on relief, food distribution, emergency relief cash transfers, school feeding program, water-related interventions, and livestock offtake programs. And as I did commit, we are going to partner with our county governments, especially on the subject of school feeding program, because aside from enhancing our enrollment in schools, it is sometimes the only source of food in some communities. And therefore, we're going to enhance our budget this year from 2 billion shillings that was itemized for school feeding to 6 billion shillings, and we expect that our counties will match. We have undertaken that every county that is going to participate in this program, we're going to match shilling for shilling so that we can improve the nutrition in our schools and keep our children in class. The interventions under consideration for the medium term include diversification of activities and value chains, mitigation of dependence on rain-fed agriculture, construction of strategic water reservoirs, dams, ponds, and strengthening pastoral supply chains. I would really appreciate a lot of support in matters environment. I am very happy that there is a conversation in this room about supporting our Kenya Forest Service and KEFRI for us to walk the journey of greening our country as part of the efforts that we must make to deal with matters of climate change. We would be exploring opportunities on what partnership we can put together so that we can do more with our environment and do more especially with our water harvesting efforts. In the budget, we are working on how to do more of the micro dams so that we can harvest the water when the rain comes. We are looking long term at water harvesting efforts, working with the private sector, and I must congratulate the private sector for coming through to have a conversation with us on matters water harvesting, hopefully before May. I'm sure Engineer Gitonga, you will confirm, before May, we should be able to launch the first 3 or so dams under our new program of private-public partnership and water purchase agreement instruments. This way, we can begin the journey to find some long-term solutions in ensuring that we have water and we manage the effects of climate change. I must also say that for the long term, we are committed to undertake substantial interventions to mitigate and reverse the effects of climate change and restore the national forest and tree cover of our country. As you are aware, we are already working on the program that will see us plant 15 billion trees, including 1 million trees every year in the city of Nairobi. Since all of us live in this city, I think we should just allocate each and every one of us how many trees they are going to plant in the city of Nairobi as a ticket for living in this city. We recognize our current crisis as a devastating signal of steadily worsening climate crisis, which is chiefly caused by human activity and can also be managed through more responsible stewardship of our national heritage. By launching the National Presidential Reforestation Program saying that planting 15 billion trees over the next decade, we have signaled the seriousness, magnitude, and ambition of our undertaking to rehabilitate the environment for the sake of life on Earth, not just in Kenya. As humanity, we stand to benefit immensely from ecological restoration and correction of Earth's vital systems. And this is not going to be an individual effort, it is going to be a collective assignment for all of us as humanity and from across the globe. For the people of Kenya, the commitment to do our part is absolute, and our government must therefore move decisively to actualize this aspiration. We sincerely thank our development partners, the private sector and other non-state actors who have complemented our drought mitigation efforts. We estimate that they have so far plugged in over 48 billion for various drought response interventions where they are needed most. I know the numbers go beyond there. The worsening drought situation requires us to urgently scale up response, especially interventions to avert widespread distress and suffering. The assessment team that we have listened to this afternoon has identified priority interventions that include enhanced food assistance and cash transfers, health and nutrition interventions, sustained support for water supply, sanitation and hygiene, livestock feeds, off-take program, and veterinary services, school feeding programs, peace and security initiatives, and drought recovery support in the agricultural sector. In the latest supplementary budget, we have set aside an additional 6 billion shillings for drought response intervention for the period between February and May 2023. This is a discussion that is currently live in Parliament, and we hope that that discussion can be expedited so that we can access these resources. And I am hopeful that similarly the private sector-led National Steering Committee, ably led by Peter Ndegwa, will work with us, and they have raised 650 million, as he told us, some of which has gone towards relief food distribution, while the rest has been committed to supporting water interventions such as boreholes and dams in affected counties. We did ask Peter also, who is the CEO of Safaricom, that all bonga points amounting to 800 million by government and government agencies be made available so that we can buy food for the deserving regions. And I am happy, Peter tells me by next week we will have that money so that we can buy additional food for people to feed.